Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chiss Ascendancy, episode 11. You might wonder why I've got this crazy hat on. It's because we wanted to remind you guys that this podcast is all about Star Wars thoughts from wild space. So we're going to talk about something wild today. What are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to be discussing The Mandalorian Season 2, specifically where we think it might be going. We're going to discuss some rumors, some leaks, and just wonder how we think it'll all fit together.
What is up with Mandalorian Season 2 and what to expect? And so we're going to go with things that are pretty cemented, things that have kind of been commentated on by the crew and the cast and writers, and things that have been leaked and confirmed and all that stuff. And then, one of my favorite pastimes, we're going to get into what might happen.
We're going to speculate so hard.
All right, so let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're in the middle of kind of a weird time right now, and we've been kind of spoiled with Star Wars content because of Disney Plus coming out. And Clone Wars is about 2/3 of the way done at this point. I know, it's already 2/3 of the way done, and so I'm trying to get to that Darth Maul freaking arc.
Well, we got, I guess, close to 2/3, a little over a half.
Yeah. So we're at this point we're 3 of the 4 episodes of the Ahsoka arc in. And let me say this. I love Ahsoka as much as the next person. But if you want to tell me that this story arc is better than watching Quinlan Vos during the Dark Disciple arc, you're out of your freaking mind. We should have had a Quinlan Vos arc. I'm going to leave it at that. Otherwise, I'm going to get salty.
I think there's just so much in the Dark Disciple story.
Who cares?
It would have just been a lot done.
I know that the arc originally was going to be like 8 episodes.
Right.
But dadgum, I honestly, in all honesty, I know this is going to come off as brash to Clone fans. I'm a huge Clone fan. But I would have taken 8 episodes of Dark Disciple to start Clone Wars Season 7 and then finish with the Siege of Mandalore 10 times out of 10. Bad Batch was
It's
cool.
a really good story.
I would have loved to have 8 episodes of Dark Disciple. So, we're a little bit over halfway, a little close to 2/3 done with... next week we'll wrap up the second arc, the Ahsoka arc, so we'll be 2/3 done next Friday with the Clone Wars last season. And once that happens, Samuel, we're 5 weeks away-ish, so in a little bit over a month, once that airs and that's done, we are in open land.
Yeah.
Until Mandalorian Season 2. So when is Season 2 supposed to come out?
Season 2 has been confirmed in, I think, February, so it's been confirmed for a while, but it's going to be released in October 2020, so a little bit, I guess, 6 months.
Yeah.
Depending on what day they choose.
Right.
But, I mean, that's going to fly by.
Sure.
We're already in April. By the way, happy birthday to Josiah. It was his birthday yesterday.
Thank you.
That's how we know we're in April.
Yep, so you know. So, Mandalorian Season 2 coming out in October, so we're going to have about 6 months of open-ended things. Now, of course, we're still going to get content. We're still going to get books and comics and things like that. We're talking about on-screen entertainment. And so, a couple of weeks ago, there was something that came out. It was actually maybe last Friday, right before we recorded it. The news dropped that Ahsoka Tano had been casted for Season 2 of The Mandalorian. And, man, I cannot remember the name of that actress. But it opened up a can of worms for us. For us, it's like, holy crap, what does that mean? And, like, every Star Wars fan does, we started wildly speculating about what it means. And so, where do you think this goes? What were your thoughts when you first heard it?
Well, when you hear that Ahsoka's going to be in it, you just, I guess, for me, my mind goes to all the things that Ahsoka was doing at that point in time, right? Which we know almost nothing about. You don't see her after her fight with, I guess, Ezra pulls her out through, like, the world between worlds.
Yeah. Ahsoka is actually one of the very last things you see in Rebels.
But then again, Rebels all takes place before Star Wars, A New Hope. and so you don't really know that much about what she's been up to, except for that she's probably been underground. Why wasn't she helping Luke out? Who knows? Yeah. I saw this meme that was, it's that Patrick meme in SpongeBob where he's like, "Is this your wallet?" And he's like, "You Patrick, you know." But it was somebody talking to Ahsoka, and he's like, "You're Ahsoka Tano?" And she's like, "Yep." He's like, "You were training with the Jedi?" "Yep." "So you're a light side user, and you're dedicated to the cause of good?" "Yep." He's like, "All right, so here's this child. He's force sensitive. I'm going to give him to you." And she goes, "I'm not a Jedi." So we're trying to see if she's going to get over that, because if you're bringing in a well-established force user, especially light side, the very last thing we see for, well, not the very, very last thing, but the last piece of initiative we have from season 1 Mandalorian is that Mando's now got to take the child. They've got to go somewhere. They've got, you know, they're now officially on the child quest, trying to find his life, trying to find where he belongs.
And for me, in all honesty, that gives me an amazing excitement and hope for the overall story arc of season 2. Season 1 individual episodes were amazing, but I remember we'd be like, so what the heck is going on overall? And now there's a task, a big task, an important task, and we know that the Mandalorian and the child are bonded together. They're a clan of 2, and his job is to raise it as his own child until he can reunite it with its clan. And so then towards the end of the Mandalorian, he turns and asks the armorer, "Well, where's the clan at? You know, what do I do? Where do I take it?" And she says, "That's for you to discover."
Right.
And so unless he's like, "No, I kind of like him," and he keeps him, there's a big task at hand.
Right.
Where do we go?
Well,
so
and here's the
to
thing.
Me, that's like, are we going to find a freaking...
Here's the thing with the
country of Yodas?
And the Warlord clan is that 2 completely different species are a clan.
Yeah.
So the way Mandalorians idealize, it's a group of people with a thing in common. It's a common bond. So that could mean,
and it could
either mean
like a
choice, whole group of species, or it could mean that he's going to find like this whole den of light side users hitherto undiscovered.
Well, it's interesting because you have like, you know, kind of similar to, you haven't watched Game of Thrones, but it's similar to Game of Thrones where it's like, we have family units and we're super loyal to family, but then you've got the Night Watch that's north of the wall, and once you've been there for a while, that's kind of your family more than your real family. And that's kind of how Mandalorians are, is it can be forged in battle, it can be forged doing this. So Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, doesn't have family. He was a foundling. Baby Yoda doesn't have a family. He's a foundling. And now they're a clan with really more in common than we first realized. And so I guess the what we want to talk about today is, where is this going?
Yeah. You
know, not in a questioning way, but just in an excitement. What do we want to see?
Yeah.
We're in a beautiful place. There's an amazing place in Star Wars every time before something happens. Before... especially media that you can watch. Before Clone Wars came out this season, we didn't know what was going to go on, and it's almost that the theorizing is as enjoyable as the product itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because in your head, you're like, here's what's going to happen. It's going to be beautiful. And you might like or dislike the movie or the TV show or whatever once it gets here, but there's that beautiful time before where it's, here's what I'd like to see. Here's this, here's this, here's this. You picked the loudest cup in the world.
There's ice in there, man. I don't know what you want from me.
So
I like a cold drink.
Before a movie comes out, or before, especially with Star Wars, since there's the hype is always there. Before a movie, before a TV show, before a video game, there's all this hype going on. There's all this speculation, and we're in that golden period right now for The Mandalorian season 2, where we've got a little information, but not a ton. And so. You know, what do you think happens with Baby Yoda? Do you think that they're going to find... And again, I think there's going to be more than 2 seasons.
Right.
With how wildly successful it was.
I hope there will be more than 2 seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
So my question is, what's next for Baby Yoda?
So...
And we know that Bob Iger says that he knows the name. He knows the real name for Baby Yoda. And they...
Does he mean like... his name or the species name?
No. He says he knows the character's name, and
okay, that's more satisfying to me.
On set, it's very like they don't call it Baby Yoda. that's like a no-no. So you call it the asset or you call it the child on set or near Disney or Lucasfilm or Star Wars in those circles.
Yeah.
And they call it the child or the asset. And he said that I think Jon Favreau, Bob Iger, maybe Kathleen Kennedy, and maybe Dave Filoni. I can't remember who, but there's a group of like 3 or 4 or 5 people, like the super Illuminati, that knows the name of the child, and that's it. Like, I don't think that...
What if it's just something really boring, like, all right, turns out his name is Steve.
It'll probably be Yee if it goes along with Yoda's species so far.
Yoda Yaddle. Evil. Dr. Evil.
What if his name's Yee and
he's got a PhD, he's 50 years old.
A dope dancer? My name is Yeet. So, are we going to see their species? You know, in Rebels, we had that moment where Zeb was like the last Lasat.
And then it turns out there's a whole civilization of them.
Yeah, so is that going to happen again?
Dude, I don't know. And it's
honestly... I'm torn on it, man. Like, I want there to be a bunch of them. I want to be like... I want to go into Walmart and it'd be like tons of Yodas.
Okay. Let's take this
The cash registers are always super low.
You have Kung Fu Panda, the first one.
Okay.
And Poe's the only panda you see, and he's being raised by a duck. All right? That's where we're at right now in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But then you get all the way to Kung Fu Panda 3, and there's a whole group of pandas, and Poe all of a sudden feels a lot less special. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I for my part, would just like...
looking for a panda. Like, all the other pandas are like, hello, I'm a barrel-chested weightlifting panda.
Yeah.
And Poe's still Jack Black.
Yeah, I was about to say he's still Jack Black since movie 1. But all that to say, I don't want to find a Yoda planet.
Right.
Me personally, because there's something about that just very small group of them that makes them feel more special, makes them feel more mythical.
It's inflation. Like, when, it's, I collect Star Wars action figures, and one of the cool things about collecting is you can have something that's super rare, and this is something that my wife doesn't like. She'll be like, why aren't we selling this? But the concept of just having it and it being more rare, and it's worth something, but it's worth more than just the dollars and cents to you, because you know that you're amongst a small group of people that have that figure.
Right.
A lot of people do that with basketball shoes or with, baseball cards or whatever. And part of it is, people pay top dollar, not because, some people flip it, and that's more current now these days. But, I saw the other day where the towel, okay, one of hundreds of towels that were in the Lakers locker room, but the one that the towel guy happened to hand Kobe Bryant at the end of his last game against the Utah Jazz, a couple years ago, and he puts it on his shoulders, and he's just talking and saying, hey, thanks so much, that whole thing. That towel recently sold for, I think, $30,000. And somebody didn't, I would think, when it comes to something that special, I don't think somebody bought it and was like, sick, this is going straight to eBay. I think someone wanted it because Kobe Bryant's special to them.
Right.
And it has weight to them, and it's something that they cherish and that they value. And so Yoda being, one of the most wise, one of the most powerful, one of the most unique characters, he's so unique that his species doesn't even have a name. It's called Yoda's species. And so when we got Yaddle, it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But on purpose, George Lucas didn't have her in episode 2 because he thought, we're not trying to inflate the value of Yoda's species.
Right.
Yoda's the only one. He's like freaking Tigger. That's why the Tigger movie sucks. He shouldn't be sad. He's elite. He's the only one. So, I'm torn. Do we want to see... Because I'm not going to lie to you, bro. If they're like, the Mandalorian's like, all right, we're here. And they land and the door opens and it's just all like... And there's just like... If there's 50,000 Yodas in a field just, playing beach ball, dude... For a split second, I'm going to be so happy. But then after that, I'm going to be like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah, I would be disappointed myself. Just because it's the value that the person who desires to possess it puts on that object that actually assigns it value. You know what I mean? If nobody in the world cared about for your analogy, Kobe Bryant towel, it's just a daggum towel. You know, you get down to the molecules, it is a bunch of fibers that make up a slightly larger fiber. You know what I mean? There's nothing special about this piece. It's the value that people assign to it.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't track all the way to Yoda species because there is something inherently valuable in these species, you know, based on their skill and their uniqueness and their existence. But the more you get of something, just the less special it becomes. You know, me personally, I don't want the Poe civilization. I just want Baby Yoda.
And does the value of, here's another thought that I just had, but is the ultimate in game that Baby Yoda ends up just being Mando's son?
Well, and I see
like, how cool would that be?
That's why I raised the point of a clan being what they make of it, right? Because I mean, you think of the Jedi, you know, they're all different species. They're all different persons. They all come from different homeworlds, but to every single one of them, their being a Jedi is more important than where they came from. You know what I mean? Then that's their clan. That's their family. And so I think that the Mandalorians very much view it that way. And so when she says, you know, return it to its clan, but they're already a clan. You know what I mean? They're already a unit. And I don't know. I just think it would be cool to see that more solidified through the quest. You know what I mean? They're going through, almost like Avatar, you know, where they're going through all this stuff and, you know, they find that they've had what they're looking for all along, you know, but they have to go through the pressures of looking for something else in order to discover that they already have what they want. Right.
So, that could be the whole episode. Do we want to see more Yodas? But we wrote down some notes here, and so here's another thing. And then I want you to go on kind of a rant because I want to know a long rant there for a while about the Yoda species. But Giancarlo Esposito, I hope I'm saying that correctly, the character that plays Gus from Breaking Bad, more recently known as Moff Gideon from The Mandalorian. At the end of the last episode of Mandalorian Season 1, if you haven't seen it yet, come on, bro. His TIE Fighter wrecks, and we're like...
By the way, we've said it before, I'm going to say it 100 more times. What a sick TIE Fighter. Those wings folded in half.
I know.
They're not supposed to do that, but they did.
Because
this guy's special.
Yeah. So his TIE Fighter crashes, and you're like, dang, Mando got a hang of that jetpack pretty quick.
Super fast.
And
Rising
so
Phoenix.
We're like, okay, he's defeated the bad guy. What a nice way to round up Season 1. And then they throw us a little curveball, and you see... Qui-Gon Jinn style, someone's cutting through, and you're like,
still getting through.
Hang on a dadgum second, what the freak is that? And he has the Darksaber.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I knew what it was immediately.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing else like it.
You knew it. If you knew it...
If you knew, you knew immediately.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you heard the weird sound that the Darksaber makes, I was like, I know what that is. That's a Darksaber.
Oh, yeah. As soon as it
happened, we knew what it was.
Immediately.
But, all that to say, in a recent statement, maybe it's been a while now, but... Moff Gideon, the actor that plays Moff Gideon, said there's going to be amazing, epic lightsaber action in Season 2. Take it away, Ernie. What do you think that means?
So we've got Ahsoka guaranteed to be casted. We've also got, from insiders, saying that there are going to be, quote-unquote, several Skywalker saga characters. Several, to me, means at least 3.
Yeah, and my thing is, if
Man, that was a short, long rant.
Sorry, I was just going to make a real quick point. Frick, I forgot what I was going to say. God dang it. All right, go ahead. If I remember, I'll like tap the mic or something. Go ahead.
But so they say several Skywalker saga characters. To me, it means at least more than 3. Also, if I hear the phrase epic lightsaber action, me personally, maybe I'm a little bit spoiled from having seen episode 3 ever in my life. Epic lightsaber action means not one lightsaber fight. Extend that into my next thought, which is if you have more than one lightsaber fight, the speciality of it is diminished if it's the same 2 people fighting over and over again. You kind of want that diversity in characters. You want that diversity in fighting styles. You want that diversity in what the significance of this particular battle is, if there's like a rivalry that's coming to a head, if there's just somebody that comes out of left field.
I think that's one of the reasons that, as far as lightsaber stuff goes, prequels can't be topped.
Yeah, the choreography is phenomenal.
Because you've got
Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, even by the choreographer's standards, were excellent.
Yeah.
And then I saw that interview with Ewan McGregor from episode 1 where they actually had to slow down the footage so that people thought that it was realistic because they were so well rehearsed that it looked like they had sped up the fight scene between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul in episode 1.
And to me...
Which is nuts compared to the... Obviously, I love all of Star Wars, so if you ever hear me say something negative about Star Wars, it's in comparison to other Star Wars, but I love it all. The choreography lightsaber fighting in episodes 4 through 6 leave me wanting when I see the Battle of the Heroes and the Duel of the Fates.
Here's my favorite part of the lightsaber battle from episode 4 with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. Ben going... Eh? You like that? He's like, I'm writing my name. Take a picture. Make the exposure as long as you can. Alright? Here's a B. Oh, still going. And that's like... And I get it, in 77, they were like, he's got a sword made of light. But, like, you know, by the time that the sequel trilogy got here... You know, I love the sequels. There's things I love about all of them. There's things that are, you know, that are holes for all of them, and I get it. I just rewatched episode 9 last night. It's still fantastic. Samuel literally had to talk me out of talking about episode 9 today because I was still so high on it.
Listen, we both love episode 9, but
I was going to talk about how wild it was that episode 9 was still so good when it came out on Blu-ray. All right, guys, I love episode 9, but the thing is, there were so many lightsaber things that could have happened that did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Why the freak didn't Snoke have a lightsaber? Why the freak didn't Luke ignite a lightsaber?
Apparently Snoke doesn't need a lightsaber to just wreck everybody else in the room.
It's true.
Except for that he's incapable of detecting the element of surprise.
And he's like, you ready for this?
It's funny because to me, like, unpacking it in hindsight, I'm like, he knows exactly what's going on and he has no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's narrating exactly what's happening. It's just not what he thinks. A little bit of deeper wisdom in context.
Mm-hmm.
Know your context. Anyway. So, back to the epic lightsaber action.
Yeah.
I think for me, this is probably an introduction to more lightsaber users. Because obviously we've got Ahsoka coming in. Right now, that's the only confirmed character, so you're almost guaranteed at this point, with as much as we know, that Moff Gideon's going to go toe-to-toe with Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. If we're being honest with ourselves, there's no chance that Moff Gideon even stands a chance.
I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say Disney hasn't confirmed that Ahsoka's there, but I think it's very good timing that that news would drop while Ahsoka's arc is going on in Clone Wars on Disney+.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was my 2 seconds.
So
yeah, unless Moff Gideon is just like some back pocket, maybe he was an Inquisitor at some point.
Nah.
But I doubt it.
No.
My money is on he's either just a Moff for Moff's sake, or he's a Mando that
I don't
went
think
rogue.
an Inquisitor could have ever risen to the rank of Moff, mainly because I know Palpatine. And Palpatine would never have allowed somebody that was Force sensitive, that he didn't intimately know like he knows Vader, to rise to a position of influence like a Moff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Moffs were up there with the Grand Admirals in terms of influence.
And there were very
few of those, and they were all handpicked.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that would have happened because I know Palpatine. But that leaves the question, what lightsaber users are going to be introduced? Me personally, I think it would be very cool if we saw some of the Jedis that survived Order 66 making a re-entrance. Because this is after the fall of the Empire. They don't have to be in hiding anymore, strictly speaking.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's hunting for their lives. So we've got to see some epic lightsaber battle action. And we've already got confirmed that there are going to be several, you know, Skywalker Saga characters. So I think that now would be the perfect time to say, here's a handful of people that survived Order 66. Also, maybe that's the clan that the child ends up as a part of. Is that secret light side community.
Look at you.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that I would really, really love to see Ahsoka show up. I would love to see Moff Gideon and her go toe-to-toe. And who knows? Maybe he is Force sensitive. I don't know. But
I think you have to be what they would used to call Han Solo force aware to even be able to use a lightsaber with any amount of skill that would allow you to actually use it in combat. You have to have the double vision.
Yeah, like
you know what I mean?
the fact that Finn, J.J. Abrams says, is force sensitive, and they just were starting to very explore that, and you see it now that you know that if you watch Rise of Skywalker, there's so many moments that he's like, and he's kind of staring off into space, and he's having that moment, and he doesn't really know how to express it.
Almost like
a feeling,
almost like Leia in Jedi, and in Empire, where she just has that awareness, but she doesn't know how to quantify it. She doesn't know how to vocalize it, but it's part of her.
Yeah. So, you know, that was my main beef with Episode 7 was Kylo Ren should have sliced up Rey and Finn like freaking chop suey, but he, you know, obviously the Force awakened in Rey, and then Finn being Force sensitive, at least he ended up getting whooped, but at least he could hold his own for like 2 seconds.
Well, and in defense of Kylo Ren, you know, I don't know, was that friggin'
breaking news?
Yeah, that's what that was. He had just taken a bowcaster bolt to the freaking gut.
Yeah.
And you see everybody else in all of the sequel trilogy that gets shot with that bowcaster. They're in freaking the nether realm after getting shot by that weapon. So he's pretty jacked. He's pretty ruined at this point. Yeah. Another happy landing.
Imagine having a job full time in a news company. They're like, ready, here we go. 3, 2, 1, breaking news. And you're like, it's breaking. Ding, 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 ding.
Everybody's like, get that metronome going.
I'm really doing the Mario song.
Yeah, when you get the star.
So, okay, original trilogy characters going to be in there. Who do you think and who do you like? Part of speculating is the speculation of they better not do XYZ. So who are the characters you're like, ooh, I would like that? Who are the characters that you don't want to see?
All right, I'm just going to start with what would be the ultimate disappointment for me as considered an original Skywalker Saga character would be that jacked Gamorrean guard that Jon Favreau sent a picture out on Instagram. If that's one of the ones that they're talking about, just some like shredded Gamorrean.
I think,
and they're like, here he is. Your Skywalker Saga character. I would be mortified and appalled. I don't think it's going to happen, but I just want.
I think character means like someone that has a story that we know,
right?
Because there's other species that have happened.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like that would be ultimate disappointment for me in speculation realm.
Crew that has a backstory. Yeah. Who would you want to see? Who is someone that's kind of like your reverence of them makes you not want to see someone else do that role?
Force Ghost Obi-Wan would be that would be 100% maximum fulfillment and satisfaction, and I could die in that instant and be happy.
And by extension, Force Ghost Qui-Gon?
Yeah. I would like to see.
He's not an original Skywalker Saga or original trilogy character.
But they just said Skywalker Saga. They didn't say original trilogy.
And the offer still stands, ladies and gentlemen. If the first time Qui-Gon shows up as a Force Ghost on screen, I will take my shirt off. And hopefully you're there to document it, and we'll post it.
We get kind of a Force vision, and I don't think Obi-Wan realizes that it's probably actually Qui-Gon, because he doesn't think maintaining individuality after death is possible. So he thinks it's just a vision he has. He doesn't think it's actually Qui-Gon communicating to him. But in the Mortis arc, you see Qui-Gon talk to him, but I would love, with every fiber of my being, to see Qui-Gon actually have, an open hand involvement in the goings-on of the galaxy. I made a bold statement to Josiah yesterday.
Are you talking about Obi-Wan series or Mandalorian?
I'm talking about Mandalorian Season 2.
Okay.
Because I was telling Josiah, I was like, Qui-Gon Jinn is singularly responsible for everything good that happens in Star Wars. Like, you can, and he's like, everything bad too, and I was like, but everything good?
Yeah.
When Anakin was going on his first dark side venture, you hear Qui-Gon go, Anakin, no! So,
no!
He was trying.
Yeah.
As best as a Force Ghost can. Mm-hmm. But he's just one of my all-time faves. I would love to see that. I think it would be cool because there was hinting, I don't know if it was like 100% confirmed, that Quinlan Vos survived Order 66.
So, here's the bit with that, and I was going to kind of touch on this a little bit.
Because he's going to be really old at this point. But I don't know what the Kefar lifespan is.
Who knows?
But I would love.
But he wouldn't be that old because let's say he's.
I mean, he would have been what, like
he's
6 years older than Ben Kenobi, basically.
So he'd be like 60.
Yeah, I mean, like survivably old. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So here's the thing, in the Darth Vader comic series where they're hunting down, the series that we talked about where you see he talked to the Inquisitors and all that stuff.
He's like,
there's a list.
Time to lose a limb, everybody. Nobody gets to have more than me.
Yeah, there's a list of surviving Jedi in Arubesh, and one of them is Quinlan Vos. Now, is it grasping at straws to say that means that they're going to have him something later? Not really, because Star Wars is the king
love to see
of.
It. I would love so much to see it.
Hey,
he would be just
like, think about this.
This is Qui-Gon Jinn. If you're just listening to the audio, this is 100%. Quinlan Vos is like 97%.
Yeah, for sure. And think about this. Like, you have Ralph McQuarrie who did all the concept art for the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he has a troop transport. Nobody ever uses it. They make a toy out of it, but it's never on screen. Rebels brings it back as a cartoon, and then what do? 5 or 6 years later, they make it as a freaking real life thing in The Mandalorian. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker: The Emperor's Throne is actually from concept art from Ralph McQuarrie from Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not above just like, hey, remember this comic book from 35 months ago? Yeah, remember this one panel? Couldn't read it? It says Quinlan Vos. Here he is in this episode of The Mandalorian.
Right.
So, if it was that he was reunited with the Jedi clans, dude, seeing an old Quinlan Vos would be sick.
That would be cool.
Harking back to last week's episode, seeing Kakruk, the Whipped Jedi, who in Legends was kind of his thing was you can't kill him.
Yeah.
He lives forever.
Yeah.
He survives everything. Seeing that would be sweet.
The immortal.
So that would be cool.
Also, Rex. People have been speculating that Rex might make a reappearance.
So talk a little bit about why that's... Like, do you know the roots of why we talked about Dave Filoni's all that stuff? You know that?
Well, I mean, it's... I'm speaking Russian. What's going on here?
Vodka!
Here's a funny thing I said the other day. I was playing Xbox with my friends, and the guy who's doing like all the gases coming in, blah blah blah. He was a Russian, and I was like, "Do you ever notice that like people speaking Russian sounds like a horse walking? It's like."
That's so rude.
That's all I could think
Don't
about.
bomb us.
Thanks for all the medical supplies you sent. at that article I read where Russia did help us out once since the Cold War, so we appreciate
that's
it.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's coming probably from Rebels, where Rex, was working with Sabine. He's working with Ezra. By the way, sorry. Will Thrawn come back if we have Ezra?
Right. So the concept art was definitely, I believe, from Rebels concept art. Okay, but here is why I think it could be relevant. Mm-hmm. All right. One of the reasons I think it's relevant is because Dave Filoni is a little mousy guy, man. He is like, I don't know. Will we see it? Will we not see it? I don't know. See this wolf? It's on my hat. Like that's Dave Filoni's style, right? And so I think that, like, for instance, like the new High Republic stuff is coming out, and you're like, wow, look at all these Jedi. What the freak is a wolf doing in there? Mm-hmm. And it's a Loth wolf because he likes wolves in real life. Yeah. Like he's such a little like nugget guy. And so when Rosario Dawson was cast as Ahsoka, the news was breaking, and it was like confirmed here, and Disney didn't say anything, Lucasfilm didn't say anything, mm-hmm. Star Wars, like nobody was like, yep, it happened. And then Dave Filoni's like, I'm gonna change my Twitter header. Look at this picture, and it's a picture of Rex and Ahsoka riding maybe Loth wolves. And the reason to me that it would be relevant is not only that he posted it when he posted it, but the outfit that Ahsoka's wearing looks like Ahsoka the White at the end of Rebels.
You mean at the third day at the Battle of Helm's Deep?
Yeah, that one. So she's got the hood on and stuff, and I'm thinking, man, here's another one, ladies and gentlemen watching this at home. Carol Baskin did kill her husband. No, but here's another
and
promise.
fed him to the Loth wolves. God dang it!
if we see Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones,
as Rex, that would be super cool.
I will take my shirt off.
He'd be the right age too. They just give him a nice sick white beard.
Yeah. The other day I was so excited about it.
Dude, that'd be so cool.
I was so excited about it the other day that I downloaded a picture of Tamura Morrison from the internet, and I used my markup tool on my iPhone and just drew a white beard on him, and I was like, it works. He could do it. That would be amazing.
Can you imagine that? The guy that they built the cartoon figure off of would work as the cartoon figure in real life?
How about that?
Incredible.
Yeah. So
who'd have thought?
So here's long speculation, but this is our speciality. So if it doesn't come to fruition, it's kind of like Obi-Wan with the whole Sith Lord thing. But okay, you've got Ahsoka. Ahsoka's, partner in crime looking for Ezra is
Rex.
Sabine.
Also Rex.
Sabine's the one they talk about.
Sabine, kind of.
No, but you got the Sabine connection. That they're both at the end of Rebels. It says they're searching for Ezra. Where is he at? We don't know.
Right.
She's also Mandalorian, so there's ties there. There's the Darksaber that ties into Bo-Katan, who got the Darksaber from Sabine. All that stuff. But they're looking for Ezra. Okay. It specifically talks about Sabine and Ahsoka looking for Ezra. Now, in all honesty, could care less if Ezra's there. More importantly, where was Ezra at the end of Rebels?
All I'm going to say is I liked Ezra more after he got rid of his staple gun, blaster, lightsaber.
Yeah.
Hated that thing. Hated it to death.
Yeah.
But back to what we were saying.
Yeah, well, you have freaking Obi-Wan who specifically says it's a more civilized weapon for a more civilized time, and this guy's going to combine it. Idiots.
Yeah, I hate it. Anyway,
this guy's
but yes,
his Christmas lights with
Thrawn is with Ezra. I think Thrawn
just in time for the rainy season.
Just in time for the rainy season. Sorry, nobody's watching is gonna get that, but
Thrawn and Ezra are out there somewhere with a bunch of freaking bubblegum looking whales.
Yeah,
and we don't know what's going on. Now, I will say this: Thrawn is a greater good kind of guy,
right?
And so when the Empire falls, Thrawn's not going to be... I mean, I'm sure he's going to be somewhat sad because he has friends in the service or whatever, but his thing is going to be what will protect the Chiss Ascendancy.
Right. Well, and the galaxy as a whole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's in the service of everyone.
So, if Ezra and him talk, and Ezra kind of brings him around to the Jedi way of thinking, and there's this Jedi... Could be.
And it would not surprise me at all if Thrawn was capable of convincing Ezra that Ezra's chances would be better if Thrawn were alive.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. And so, that would be
he did it to the Emperor for what, like 30 years?
Yeah. So, seeing Thrawn would be amazing. Let's see.
The last thing that I would like to discuss, because Adam, how are we doing on time? By the way, shout out to Adam. He keeps us on track. He makes sure the camera doesn't look out one way to the left or the right. So if it ever does, that's because Adam wasn't here. Bless his heart. We're doing good? Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is the Empire Remnant, which we see
I was looking
moving in to the First Order.
Right.
We see in the Rise of Kylo Ren comics that Brendol Hux, who is General Hux from the sequel trilogy, his father, he was the original General Hux within the First Order. He's in communication with Snoke. Right? So we know that right around that timeline, so like what, 17, 18 years after 6 is when the First Order is really starting to come about.
Okay.
At that point,
20 years after 20 years after Return of the Jedi is when Kylo leaves.
Okay. So
25 years after is when Kylo leaves, because he's been Kylo Ren for 5 years by the time The Force Awakens comes about, something like that. 20 years after Return of the Jedi is when the First Order is big enough that Leia is bringing them up in the Senate.
Right.
And in the book Bloodlines, that's when it becomes public knowledge that Vader was her father, and she kind of gets discredited in the Senate, and that's why nobody took it seriously across the galaxy, billions of people.
So the question a lot of people are asking is, how involved will the First Order be in this series? And for me, I don't want it to be super involved, especially as early as season 2, because the earlier they get involved, that means the further along the timeline is for Mandalorian, which means the less seasons of Mandalorian we get. So if we can keep the First Order out of it for a hot second, I would like it until like maybe season 5 or 10, depending on how many I can milk Disney for. But I think that the involvement of the First Order, the heavier that hand gets, the closer we are to the end of Mandalorian.
Yeah. And you know what? For me, I was all about like, well, what's the First Order? How'd it come from? Blah, blah, blah. And I think Rise of Skywalker kind of fixed that for me for a couple of reasons. One, I want to know what the whole thing is with Snoke, but we kind of know what the whole thing is with Snoke, just not in detail.
Yeah.
I wanted to know where they were at. Well, it turns out, they're out in the unknown regions, but there was a backup plan on Exegol called the Final Order. We know that...
I think that was like Palpatine's plan A.
Yeah.
He's just the long game dude,
we know that, that Palpatine was alive the whole time via essence transfer and cloning and all that kind of stuff. So there's things that have been explained because of Episode 9 that makes me less curious. I do want to fill those gaps, but I am enjoying the fact that there's multiple medias of Star Wars going on at the same time that touch and go, but they're not like intertwined. Because when they're so intertwined, you're in a box with what you can and can't do. And so that's why for Clone Wars right now, there's only so much they can do.
Right.
There's only so much time before episode 3 has to happen.
That's what I've always said about the prequels in general, is know how it had to end, so you're doing the best you can with what you got.
And so you've got, this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and in the grand scheme of things, Mandalorian could go into and past the sequel trilogy and have things going on, and
theoretically like a Lion King 1.5 sort of thing, what's going on in the rest of the galaxy.
Even less than that, they could never ever touch. Because think about this: when you're talking Skywalker Saga, you're talking about the biggest thing that's going on in the galaxy at any given point.
And here's the thing:
that's why you have the Vaders and the Palpatines and the Kylo Rens. In the grand scheme of things, the Mandalorian is not 2 drops in a bucket compared to what's going on in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
Nobody cares. They could die in a sandstorm on the backside of Tatooine of thirst, and it would not affect what's going on in the galaxy that we know of so far.
Well, and the other thing
I
is
like that. I like that there's a story by itself.
That most of Star Wars that we see on screen takes place mid-rim inwards.
Right.
Right? I mean, you see them on Utapau, you see them on Tatooine, but for the most part, Star Wars is happening in the center. That's just how the galaxy is structured. And the First Order is kind of looking to replicate what the Empire is doing, so they're looking to control the core worlds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, all that being said, we can see in the back end of all of Star Wars that most of the stuff going on in the Outer Rim and in the wild regions and in the untamed areas of space, there are no hands that the Empire is placed on that. There are no hands that the First Order is going to have in that, the Resistance is going to have that, for the most part. So that being said, there could be a continuation of The Mandalorian that's just what's happening in the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's such a selective history that we get out of Star Wars in the mainstream movies itself, that there's so much more to explore. Yeah,
it's a big scale, but it's very minute. And by the time the sequel trilogy happens, Starkiller Base and the Hosnian system and all that stuff and Jakku and all that's on the very, very outer rim area. But it's on a couple of places and it takes place in basically a year. Like 7 happens, 8 happens immediately after 7, and 9 is a year later. So you have 25 years from Mandalorian Season 1 to Episode 7 that anything could be going on anywhere else in the galaxy. You could even have things happening because Coruscant wasn't the capital. That you could, because it was floating around, you know? You could have Mandalorian go in doing stuff, bounty hunting on Coruscant, on Naboo, on some of these other places, and dive into some of those other planets that are in the Skywalker Saga, and never ever touch what's going on with the sequels. As far as Skywalker characters that I want to see, Skywalker characters I don't want to see. You mentioned Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. To me, that takes the picture too much puts it too much onto the Jedi, and the whole point of the Mandalorian is this other side of things. Right. So the chances there are slim. I would still take my shirt off. But what I think would be dope is you bring back Donald Glover as Lando.
That would be cool.
And you could age him a little bit, you know? And Eunice could be, or Junus. I'm terrible with European names, but the guy that plays Chewbacca in the sequel trilogy, he could be there. With those two guys, I can totally see Han's taking care of Leia and Ben, so he sends Chewie. Lando's got nothing better to do, so he goes there. It would be super cool to see those characters, and because of the Chewie suit, and because Donald Glover has already been established as Lando in a previous movie, you could see those characters, and it wouldn't feel like that's not what Lando looks like, because that's already what Lando looks like in another movie.
Well, and then the other thing is that we've got all of these other bounty hunter characters that we know of, but I mean, we're in the bounty hunter world, and we didn't see really any of the established characters that we already know of. Mandalorian's making an up-and-coming name for himself, and you just don't see, any of the other big names that we know exist. It wouldn't surprise me if they come after him in season 2. We talked
at our Mandalorian review, Boba Fett would be a big one. Bossk would be huge. I would love to see, obviously Boba Fett's my favorite Star Wars character. I would love to see Boba Fett. I would be not as excited to see Bossk, but super excited
Still
to see
super
Bossk.
Excited.
It would be cool if you saw Dengar come on the scene and he's already started to transform into that weird looking dude that you see in Rise of Skywalker. That's pretty heavily hinted at in the visual dictionary, that he's like in that trying to stay in the A game of the hunters.
Yeah,
bounty
basically
hunters.
just becomes a whole robot.
So that would be cool. I think that, I think Chewie would be the coolest hero. I don't want to see, the things that make me nervous that I go, oh, don't touch my Star Wars, is so many times in the last 5 years since Star Wars has been back on the main everything, I don't want to see Sebastian Stan as a young Luke Skywalker. I don't want it. Don't do it. Get your hands out of my cereal box. I don't want it. I don't want to see it. I don't. I'm not cool with it. I would even rather they hire, the dude that played Knight of Ren, Luca. I forget his last name. The guy that played Aplek, the Knight of Ren, that played young Luke with the CGI face. I'd rather have that guy come in and they CGI a face on him than having freaking Sebastian Stan do it. That's just me. So I don't think we'll see Luke. He's got other things going on, and he's too big of a character. The whole reason Luke has no lines in Episode 7, he just turns around at the end, is because J.J. Abrams said, my job is to establish Kylo Ren and Rey. And if Luke is on the scene, we're already fighting toe-to-toe with Han Solo for screen. Like when Han came on the scene and him and Chewie are like, Chewie, we're home. I don't know. I just smoked for 10 years to have a cool voice like Han Solo, but when he comes on the scene, immediately I was like, I could give two craps about these people. Han and Chewie are back on the Falcon. And he said that when Luke was on screen, it was even more so. And so I think that Chewie, maybe because he can't speak English, or maybe, I don't know, he's already a good second character. He would be really cool. But yeah, I at first, before Mandalorian Season 1 came out and before Episode 9 was out, I was like, what if they show us Snoke? What if they blah, blah, blah? I mean, that'd be cool. I'd still be cool with it. But my need for that is less. I would love to see a Quinlan Vos. I would love to see K'Kruuk. Yeah. That would be wild. Yeah. So, so much stuff going on. So, any other things you want to talk about before we wrap this thing up?
I think it's time to
so much.
Put a cork in it.
We could go on forever about this, but Mandalorian Season 2 comes out in October. I'm really hoping, I hope that Gamorrean's from a freaking battle scene, like a gladiatorial thing. That would be sick. And maybe that's where it's anybody ever made it out of here before, or any blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It would be a cool thing to be like, nobody could make it out of here, and, a boss character steps into the light and is like, I don't know. I'm just thinking of scenarios where Boss could be in there. So, but Mandalorian Season 2 comes out in October. Super excited. I believe it's already done filming. And so you've got Ahsoka's back on the scene. Obviously, Mandalorian, what's going to happen with Baby Yoda. Cara Dune's coming back. My boy Quill ain't going to be there. IG-11, RIP, both of them. But lots of stuff to talk about. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. May the Force be with you always.
And remember, the only family you have here is me.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.